Today's guest grew up on the south side of Chicago amid unimaginable violence and dreamed of one day working at Nike designing shoes for his hero Michael Jordan. Virtually everyone told him that this dream was ridiculous for somebody like him, but he refused to listen, making his mom take him to shoe stores, not so he could buy something, but so he could sketch the shoes and see if he could improve on them. Nothing came easily for him, but just as Jordan put up 1,000 shots a day to improve, he began doing 1,000 sketches a day. He persisted, and after several rejections, he got a design internship with Nike, becoming the first African American to do so. Insanely hungry to make a name for himself, he took all of the projects nobody else wanted. His assignment to reinvent laces, the most boring job in shoes, was actually meant to haze him, but he crushed it so hard that it resulted in him being awarded multiple patents and attracting the attention of Nike founder Phil Knight. He also poured himself completely into another maligned and orphaned project known as the Barbecue Shoe for Dads, and turned it into the Monarch, the highest grossing shoe in Nike's history. While it normally takes roughly 15 years to become a senior designer at Nike, he did it in 5. He went on to design shoes for Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Eminem, and of course, the king himself, Michael Jordan. Not satisfied with being a great designer, however, he went back to school and received his master's degree in business from Stanford. And when he returned to Nike, he worked his way all the way to senior global design director for the Jordan brand. So please, help me in welcoming the real-life Lucius Fox, the media designer at Stanford's D School and CEO of Superheroic, Jason Mayden.
I think, there's several things that I fundamentally believe are true in terms of difficulty and what it gives you. So for me, being born on the south side of Chicago in a blue collar environment, you don't make excuses for yourself. There's no such thing as anyone starts life, behind the start line. I look at myself as equal to everyone that I'm in a room with, and the separation between where I want to go and where I am is my work ethic. So my mindset is always that anybody can be great. I want to be the greatest ever at what I do. So everything I touch, everything I pour my time and talent into, I don't think about being great. I think about how can I be the greatest? And that takes a huge amount of introspection. It takes a huge amount of self-reflection and honesty. And it also takes humility, because you have to ask for help in order to be the greatest. So
that's interesting. I've never heard anybody say that before. It takes humility to be the greatest.
It does. That there's a difference between a response and a reaction. A reaction is very emotionally driven. It's not calculated. It's not thoughtful. A response is strategic. It's intentional, and it's meant to have a person understand your true disposition.
How did you learn to deal with suffering, which is something you've talked about, like being necessary to get across the finish line?
I encountered suffering at a very early age, at the age of 7, when I was in the hospital with septicemia, which is a severe blood infection. And it was at that time in the hospital where I had to play with children who were terminally ill, children who were in intensive care, children who weren't going home. And I realized, there's always someone who is going through more than you. There's always someone that has, real significant problems while you may have an inconvenience. And so while I looked at myself as having a challenge, a health challenge, and suffering, I still felt that was just an inconvenience. It was something that I can overcome. So I look at suffering as a way to keep me humble, because, when you think about the archetype of a superhero, they always have an obstacle to overcome. There's always the height of climax. And I don't believe that I'm so great that I don't have the ability to go through difficult circumstances. I think it's necessary in order to realize your greatness, because when you're tested, you are given the ability to have a testimony. So you can't have a testimony without a test. And just, in my life, I've been tested significantly. And each time, I've developed a new skill set or a new muscle to help me run this race. If you look at historically people that have been masters in various disciplines, they all had one thing in common: curiosity. And curiosity is something that starts at childhood, but it's stripped from you as you grow older, because they tell you, pick a lane, focus on this, become that. And we subscribe to labels people place on us, and that limits our potential. So I just fundamentally believe that I don't let someone else place their limits on me. My limit is the limit I set, and I believe I'm limitless. I believe that if you have a life and you don't, utilize it and you settle for just being average, then that's a waste of the gift of life. Like every day I wake up, when people ask me, how you doing? I say, man, I'm thankful I woke up today, because that's the first gift you're given, is another chance to be great. So, I think, like you mentioned, people who are multidisciplinary, people who are curious and inquisitive, the reason why they become great is because they don't believe that they truly have mastered their craft. They don't feel settled in what they've developed. They don't feel as if they're the best just yet. Because like, they may be more talented, they may be smarter, but they won't outwork me, because that's where excellence comes from. It's the small things done well consistently over time. And it's never the smartest, it's the person who runs the hardest and who doesn't quit that wins. And I'm just willing to push myself and, break down my own insecurities to build up my confidence and my skill set.
Did you ever meet Tim Grover?
I did, yeah, one time.
So Tim, in his book Relentless, and I've had the very good fortune of meeting him and interviewing him, and he was the first person that really talked about the darkness. Like so I've seen so much footage on you can't imagine, and you are so upbeat and positive and bright and sunny, and when you're with your family, oh my God, like it just literally, it pours out of you. But there's, like, you're so driven. Do you have like a foot in like the darkness? Do you know like how to balance? Like, how does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, it actually, you have to have both. So if there's extreme darkness, there has to be extreme light. It's duality to everything. So I just tend to bias towards what I want to see in the world more, what I want to see more in the world, which is joyfulness, which is being present, which is being, thankful. And so that's what drives me. It's the things people told me I couldn't become. It's the negative circumstances that I come from. I don't let that limit me at all. That's my catalyst, because I look at it like, okay, why not me? I've already overcome this. Why can't I go and start a company? Why can't I build something that's meaningful? Why can't I create this new paradigm shift in the way we look at the world as big, giant superhero training facility? Because if I looked at it the other way and started to take, the count of, okay, well, I can't do this because of where I come from. I can't do this because of how I look. I can't do this. I wouldn't start anything. Everybody would wake up each day doing subtraction. I look at my life as addition. I wake up and say, what can I do today to add to my skill set? What can I do today to add to someone else's joy? What can I do today to serve someone else? So when you keep a mindset of service, your problems in that darkness become smaller, because you're not going to focus on your own insecurities, your own problems. You're going to figure out a way to amplify someone else's experience. So I go through life looking at people as an opportunity for me to serve. Because while I'm waiting on my blessing, I can be a blessing. And that's how I counterbalance that. When you focus solely on your darkness, everything becomes about you. You become selfish, and you could be driven to a point where it becomes toxic. And that's why you see some people implode once they get to where they're going, because they look up and no one around them really wants them there. For me, I have this mentality that if everyone around me is fed, then no one is starving, then I don't have to worry about people being villainous or hungry and trying to take from me. So the way I feed is through time, through joyfulness, through good energy, because sometimes all you need to do is tell a person that they matter and show up. That's the greatest gift, is to acknowledge people in the world that's so busy and so hurried. To slow down and be present and to acknowledge a person's existence is, to me, how you balance out the darkness with the light when you're driven.